All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about something we all deal with, right? That completely overwhelming email inbox. You know the feeling. It seems broken, it feels inefficient, like a huge waste of your time. But what if? What if that feeling is totally wrong? Okay, so let's just start with something that sounds, well, completely obvious. A senior vice president, their time is insanely valuable, right? So having them spend hours a day sorting through routine messages, I mean, that's like using a supercomputer to do simple addition. It just feels like a massive waste of resources.
And that right there, that's the central puzzle. If it is so clearly inefficient, why do these incredibly smart, highly paid people keep doing it? I mean, why hasn't the free market just fixed this? Well, the answer tells us something really, really profound about how our world actually works today.
So, to get to the bottom of this, we've got to go back in time. We have to understand the world that email replaced. And spoiler alert, it wasn't a world of digital convenience. It was a world with a ton of friction. And that friction, it actually served a really important purpose. Get this. Back in 1984, the cost to create and send just one business letter, when you factor in dictation, typing, the paper, the postage, all of it, was almost 25 bucks in today's money. I mean, just let that sink in. $25 for one single message. And here's the crazy part. That high cost, it wasn't a bug in the system. It was a feature. It forced people to be disciplined. You just didn't send a letter unless it was absolutely critical. And what that did was create this natural filter, right? It kept the volume of mail way down and pretty much guaranteed that anything that landed on your desk was actually important. Okay, so that brings us to the most common theory for why our inboxes are a nightmare today. It's a concept called shadow work. And the basic idea is that all that administrative work, the filing and the sorting, it didn't just disappear into thin air. Nope, it just went off the books. The theory is actually pretty simple. When email made sending messages basically free, that crucial work of sorting and filtering, the stuff a secretary used to do, it didn't just vanish. It just got shifted onto the executives themselves. It basically became this invisible second job that they never signed up for. And this table just lays it out perfectly. Look at the shift. In the old days, the main task was mechanical, like typing. That's easy to delegate. But today, the task is cognitive. It's deciding what's important. And you can't really delegate that because you're the one with the context. So we went from tasks you could hand off to tasks you can't, all while the volume just exploded from 15 items a day to over 120? That's insane. So according to this shadow work theory, the takeaway is pretty grim. We've stumbled into building a system that is just fundamentally broken and inefficient. We're talking about executives wasting up to 28% of their entire week on stuff they really shouldn't be doing. But is that really the whole story? Is it really that simple? Okay, but hold on. That whole theory makes one huge assumption, that email is a distraction from the real work. But what if, for a massive number of jobs today, that fire hose of email is the real work? This is where we need to draw a really important line between two different kinds of jobs. Think about it like this. Are you doing what's called deep work? You're a strategist. You're trying to create something from scratch. For you, email is the enemy of focus. Or are you doing logistics work? Maybe you're a project manager coordinating a super complex supply chain. For you, email isn't a distraction. It's the literal lifeblood of your entire operation. Yeah, for someone in logistics, email isn't just a clunky replacement for old-fashioned letters. It's a brand new superpower. It allows for business models that were just impossible before, built entirely on speed and instant communication. So for them, a high volume of email isn't a sign the system is failing. It's a sign of high throughput. It means the system is working. So if you look at it this way, the real villain for productivity isn't a ton of emails that you can check whenever you want. That's asynchronous. You can deal with those in batches. No, the real villain is the synchronous interruption. The unexpected phone call, the got a minute tap on the shoulder. Those are the things that completely derail your focus because they force you to switch tasks right then and there. Okay, so if the executive isn't just doing glorified secretarial work, what exactly are they doing with all that time in their inbox? Well, a pretty wild story about a bookseller and a Japanese comic book, of all things, actually gives us the answer. You see, by personally sifting through the raw, unfiltered customer requests, the noise, this guy, Kurt Hassler, he spotted something. It's what people call a weak signal. It was this quiet little pattern that a traditional system, one with a secretary filtering everything, would have almost 100% dismissed as just junk.
Right, so the old model was all about having a gatekeeper, a secretary, an assistant. Their job was to filter out all the noise and only pass along what they thought was important. And that worked fine in a world that was stable and predictable.
But let's be real, that's not the world we live in anymore. Today's world is unstable, it's constantly changing. And in this world, the executive's inbox isn't a pile of chores. It's a vital sensor network. That inefficient task of sorting through emails, that's actually the super important high-value work of sensing the environment. It's how you spot the next big threat or, the next Sailor Moon. And this all points to a really deep tension. Right? It's a fundamental conflict between what we as individual human beings want and what the giant complex systems we're a part of actually need to function and survive. So that feeling of being totally overwhelmed and alienated by your inbox, it comes from this constant friction. Your personal system, your brain, it needs comfort, it needs focus. But the big social system you're in, your company, the market, it needs something totally different. It needs speed, data, and constant connectivity. Those two systems just have completely different and often competing needs. Here's a great way to think about it. The nephew problem. In a tiny family business, hiring your nephew is a good thing. It's about loyalty, family. But you try that in a huge public company, and suddenly it's nepotism, it's unethical. Why? Because the rules have to change when the scale of the system changes. And it's the same with email. It feels personally inefficient, but it might be absolutely essential for the system to work at a massive scale. Okay, so let's circle all the way back to our original question. If this system is so painful and feels so inefficient, why in the world don't smart people just fix it? And here it is, the big reveal. Because at a system-wide level, it's not a problem that needs solving. The system isn't broken, it's just evolved. The simple truth is that in our world today, the potential cost of missing that one critical email, that one weak signal, is now way, way higher than the cost of an executive's time spent looking for it. So that shadow work the SVP is doing, it's not a mistake. It's the price of admission. It's the cost of staying connected to reality at high speed. They're not acting like their own secretary. They're personally managing the nervous system of the entire organization. So here's the big takeaway. Changing how you think about your inbox can change everything. If you just see it as a to-do list, you're going to be frustrated forever. But what if you see it as a nervous system, one that's constantly feeding you data about your environment? Look, the frustration probably won't disappear completely, but the meaning behind it becomes totally different. So the real question is, what is your nervous system telling you?